so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Thoughts for Rent, Realtors Keeping It Real with Jenni McKenna and Max Zerflu here in Henderson, Nevada. You're doing a lot of pointing there.
Yes, I'm actually going to adjust my skirt.
We're very black, too, as well. I'm black.
Hey, yeah, why did you wear...
Does this shirt make me look big? No, your stomach does. Anyway, we are a podcast that focuses on real estate, focuses on life, and focuses on all the different things that are out there for us to talk about. Thoughts for Rent. That's what we call ourselves. Jenni runs a property management company, McKenna Property Management.
Wait, what was that?
McKenna Property Management.
Is that like a tongue twister?
She's not being critical, is she?
No.
Okay, good. Just making sure we have our agreement. She runs McKenna Property Management, and I run the McKenna team, sales team, brokered out of Keller Williams. And
what are we going to talk about today, Max?
Today, we're actually going to talk about real estate.
I think we should, because I know with all the years of experience that you have in real estate, there are some things out there that I would love to have our listeners know and understand. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the pitfalls that maybe a buyer or a seller run into when it comes to listing or buying real estate.
Well, there's all kinds of pitfalls. One thing to note is that nationwide, we are at higher cancellation rates than we've ever been at before. So we're canceling more escrows than we have ever done in history.
You know why I think that is?
Why do you think that is?
Inspectors.
Well, there's certain things.
I have no data for that. That is just totally Jenni McKenna's opinion. It's true.
There are certain things during the escrow period that can certainly put a wrench in the works. And certainly an inspection, an appraisal, loan approval, loan process. Those are some of the big things. Also, in Nevada, we have a lot of HOAs. So you have to be able to, a buyer has the ability to review the HOA documents, rules, and regulations, even the budget. And if they don't like something about the HOA, they can cancel within a 5-day period after receiving those documents.
So in your world right now, with the buyers that you have and the sellers that you have, what is the number one reason, if you've had any in the last 4 months, cancel? What's that reason that's happened?
We've actually been pretty lucky, knock on wood. But when we do have cancellations, it usually comes down to the buyer is not able to finalize their loan approval.
Okay, so it's still the loan problem is more than anything.
Sometimes it could be the property itself is not cannot be financed under a certain finance program, FHA. Maybe a condo can't be financed under that. Or it could be during the escrow period, the buyer has decided to purchase a car or even new furniture at R.C. Willey or apply for a credit card.
Yep. And
those things can affect your credit score and can affect your credit your borrowability. So you've seen that. Obviously, you've been doing this longer than I have. You've seen people make some big mistakes as they're about to buy a house.
I remember I got a call from the lender 5 days before they were scheduled to close. Super cute couple. And the lender said, "I'm sorry, we cannot fund their loan." And I said, "Why?" And it was because they had gone out and they had gone furniture shopping and getting so excited for the new property. And I had to call them into the office and tell them that because of the fact that they opened up a new line of credit and then bought things on that line of credit, their debt ratio became too high, and therefore they no longer were able to purchase the property. That was a bad conversation. So anyone listening out there with your children, with a family member, with just a friend, if you are in the process of wanting to buy a property, you want to freeze anything that you've got going on as far as your credit cards, spending money,
Amazon purchases.
Yeah, you want to kind of look at yourself, and because the lender's going to look at your spending habits and find out if they feel comfortable loaning you that money. And in a lot of times, the bank owns 90% of the house or 95% of the house. Because if you're only putting 5% down, who is the majority equity holder?
Yeah, the The loan company.
The bank, whoever's the loan company.
The fact of the matter is, people think, I got the loan approval, I got the contract, I've done my due diligence, I've done my inspection, I like everything. The sellers have agreed to give me $500 to pay for some repairs. I'm good to go. What many people might not understand is that 2 days before a property closes, the lender runs everything through underwriting again.
Yep.
Final underwriting review. That can be a deadly time.
Yeah.
Because anything you've done in that period is going to come up, and then the lender goes, "Oh my gosh, what happened? What's this new Benz I'm seeing in your credit?" But anyway, so that's one thing. We want to watch the credit. That's obviously, and a good agent is going to be telling their clients, particularly their buyers, hey, you be careful, because we want to make sure you're still able to buy it when the time comes.
So moral of the story, until you close escrow, you don't really do anything thinking that you bought the house.
I believe we have beat that horse to death.
Well, I also want to go the other side of it.
Again.
If you're a really good real estate agent, you are educating your seller, because the seller is going to think the exact same thing that the buyer just thought. They've got this loan, the home inspection's been done, they've agreed to whatever they've agreed upon. Basically, I'm going to pack up my house and I'm ready for the closing. But the seller needs to realize as well that 48 hours before that funding, that buyer's credit's going to have an underwriting approval, or need underwriting approval.
Because baby, it ain't over till it's over.
Yeah.
Many times I've called a seller and I've had to say, hey, just want to give you a heads up. The buyers are asking for an extension because their loan has been sent back to underwriting and they've got some issues.
Yep.
Or the buyer's lender has informed us that these people can't buy the house. It's the worst call to make. And if I have given them a little heads up that this could possibly happen, it's not over till it's over. Have that conversation. Then it's a much better phone conversation.
So what do you do when a seller needs to literally be out of the property at the time of the close of escrow, but doesn't really want to do all of the U-Haul and the moving and all that kind of stuff until the house is actually sold? What's a way to help your seller accomplish what they want and then still not be, jump the gun?
It's entirely circumstantial. Most sellers already have a plan in place of where they're going to go. They may already have the next house. They might be moving out of state, and they've already made arrangements. So many times it doesn't matter. Many times if you call a seller and say, we're not going to close tomorrow, it might be next week, they'll be like, okay, I'm in Indiana, so that's fine. Keep me posted.
They've already moved.
Yeah. So it's not that big of a deal. I don't worry too much about that. Now, obviously, we get into situations where somebody has sold their house and they plan to buy a new house with the funds from that house. So you get contingencies, contingent upon sale of their existing home. So sometimes that can really muck up the works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I find valuable as a real estate agent, as a professional, is to just always be in contact with the buyer's lender and the escrow company and make sure, hey, are we good? I'll check in every 2 days or so when we're about 2 weeks away, just to make sure, do you need anything else from the seller? They're not waiting on us. Is everything okay on the buyer's side? You just got to keep people informed.
So if I am starting the process of wanting to buy a home, condo or townhome, one of the things that I think would be something to look for is good communication with the realtor that you're working with. Because if they've got good communication skills at the time that you guys are setting appointments, looking at properties, getting answers to questions that you might have, that's an indication that they're probably going to be pretty good during the escrow period. So is that something, Max, that you would want to really interview a real estate agent as far as making sure that communication skill is good? Yeah,
I think you can interview them, but you also want to set a standard or an expectation with your agent and me as an agent with my buyer or seller. How often do you want to be communicated with? If you're a listing, do you want us to call you once a week, once every 2 weeks? Each person wants a different type of handling, right? But if you're a buyer, I think you want to, and if it's your first time, I think you want to be extra aggressive with your agent once you've picked them to say, hey, I need to know what's going on. Mm-hmm. I've never done this before. What sometimes agents forget is I've probably been involved in 1,000 escrows by now. So for me, it's nothing new.
Right.
But for the person who's buying their first home, they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So our job as agents is to always end the conversation with, here's what's going to happen next.
That's a
right?
great way to do
Here's
it.
what's going to happen next. Hey, we got the repair request figured out. Here's what's going to happen next. The appraisal should be completed in 3 days, and we'll, as long as that's okay, then we'll move to the next steps. But I'll be calling you to let you know what's going on with that.
So now tell me another hiccup that can happen in the world of the escrow.
Before we do that, we should also mention that communicating is different than it was when you were an agent or when I was first an agent 20 years ago.
So when
right now, you have phone, people like the phone, people like the email, people like texting, people like Facebook Messenger. So you got to understand what your client, how they want to communicate. And if you're a buyer or a seller, tell your agent, I like to communicate via text. I like to communicate via email.
Do you ever, if somebody says, hey, Max, I like to communicate Facebook DM, but you normally don't do that. You're normally text, email. Mm-hmm. Do you change your communication style to appease your client, or do you explain to your client, this is what we're going to do?
No, change to theirs.
Okay.
Customer's always right.
Okay.
That's how they want to communicate. That's how we communicate.
So that's good indication if you're interviewing a real estate agent too. Ask that question.
Yeah, I suppose. Are you going to have a problem if I want to communicate via Instagram, Snapchat? But like when we have a property, myself and my executive assistant, Emily, and the sellers, we create group text right away. Mm-hmm. We name the group text in our phone, the name of the property, and that's how we communicate a lot of times with our sellers.
So you like the text idea, but that makes sense.
Well,
because
I like it. It's convenient. So.
Well, and it means everybody is on that text, which everybody gets to see what's exactly going on. That's a good idea. So listen, when you are interviewing real estate agents, make sure, so important, communication throughout the entire process from the day you meet that realtor all the way until the closing. Because if not, then you're going to be left in the dark, and being left in the dark just really makes you nervous. I remember the first time I bought a property. This was before I was married to Max. My dad is a real estate agent. He was on vacation. So a couple things happened while he was on vacation. I knew nothing and I felt so stupid. So I can relate to, you need somebody to explain to you exactly what is happening within that escrow period.
You absolutely do.
So give me another pitfall.
Well, you like to focus on them pitfalls, huh?
I do, because then we'll talk at the end. What's the really good one?
Today, cute little place, and I got a text from somebody who had seen it on Zillow.
Oh, cool.
Said, hey, I'd like to see this property.
Okay.
Now, obviously, we got a lot of AI stuff lately. We got bots. We got people just texting people that aren't even people are texting you. So the first thing we do is when we get that text is we go, our broker requires a copy of an ID, proof of funds, pre-approval, and then we can make arrangements to show it to you. Also, do you have an agent or do you want to be an unrepresented buyer? Sometimes our listings sell to unrepresented buyers, which is fine. I'm just bringing it up because there's so many different scenarios in how a transaction will go through. But if you want to go back to pitfalls, one of your bigger ones is always going to be.
Well, I'm going to ask you, was that text a real person or was it a bot? Was it an AI?
It was a real person.
It was a real person.
We went through a whole phone conversation. I said, do you have an agent? No, I don't. I said, do you want to be an unrepresented buyer or do you want representation? She said, I want to be an unrepresented buyer. I said, great, send me proof of funds and we can make arrangements to show you the property. And she said, maybe I'll go find another agent to be represented.
Oh, okay, because she realized, I just started this and now I'm realizing. I don't want
to be an unrepresented buyer.
Yeah, maybe it is a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
The state of Nevada is one of the few states where you can actually, an agent can represent both parties as long as both parties agree to it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we'll sell our listings to buyers that we also represent.
So dual listing, or was it dual agency? Dual agency.
Some people don't do it because it's liability, but from my perspective, I feel like I'm a pretty good agent. And if I can bring a buyer who I can represent and I can also guide them through the process, it's actually going to benefit my seller.
Well, and whenever I was talking about dual agency with my sellers, I said the same thing. I know your property better than anyone that would just be walking in. I understand your circumstances better. So if you're okay with it, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you would probably be, me bringing in a buyer isn't going to be a conflict of interest for you. Of course, they have to agree to it and they have to sign a document saying they're okay with it. But they have to sign a document. Along those lines.
A document that at the top of it says, this represents a conflict of interest.
It is. But yeah. It's fine. But conflict of interest sometimes are not a bad thing. Some people look at that as being a negative thing, but in reality,
As long as you're fair and you're trustworthy. That's
And
the key
and you
thing.
know what else? And everything is laid out on the table. As long as everything is laid out on the table and both seller and buyer can make educated
Get the
decisions,
same information.
it's not a problem.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so what's another one?
Well, you act like we're just going through the top 5 pitfalls of buying a house, but you keep saying another one.
I'm waiting for
Wait,
you to talk
okay.
about the home inspectors.
Oh Lord!
Exactly, because they
All right,
are
when you go
really
into
crazy.
contract, you set forth a certain number of days that will be your due diligence period, which is the time frame in which a buyer can get an inspection done, can drive by the home at night, can bring in a voodoo doctor and a tarot card reader. They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
During that due diligence period, a buyer can cancel escrow and get a 100% of their earnest money back.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
And what usually happens, the main thing that happens in that time period is a home inspection.
Dun dun dun.
Jenny's favorite.
Ugh.
They hire a home inspector. The seller makes the house available. Home inspector comes in, top to bottom, inspects the property, and issues a inspection report to the buyer and the buyer's agent.
So, Max, do you think that it's a good idea for a seller to get a home inspection done prior to finding a buyer, prior to putting it on the market?
I personally do not think it's that great of an idea.
Okay.
The only reason you'd be doing that is to say, I want to get this house perfect so nothing can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that the seller's inspector is not the same guy that's the buyer's inspector.
Right.
Let's say a seller has a property inspected. They found 14 things that needed to be fixed, and they fixed them all.
Yep.
So now your seller's thinking, I'm good to go. When I get a buyer, there's not going to be anything wrong. They're going to be happy. They won't even need an inspection. Heck, I might even share my inspection with them.
Mm-hmm.
But our broker says don't share that inspection with them.
Okay.
That's up to them to find out what they want to find out. And then when they bring in their inspector, the inspector says, I'm going to do this inspection, but if it doesn't have anything on it, my time really isn't justified. If I say, oh, this is perfect, there's no problems at all, then they're going to go, well, why am I paying you $295 for an inspection? So what inspectors can do, maybe tend to do, is put every little thing they can find on there.
Yeah.
And if you're not educating your buyer, they're thinking, oh, I want all that stuff fixed.
Right.
Right?
Or the buyer's going, oh my gosh, I'm about to buy a money pit. Right?
Oh, look at all the stuff that's wrong. There's a chip in the paint, or the door jam's off a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, no, seller, don't get one. Let the buyer who offers to buy your house for a certain amount of money, let them do their thing. We're not trying to hide anything. Let them find out for themselves and get an inspection. The problem with that is that when they submit their repair request, sellers' jaws tend to drop on the floor.
And they get mad.
And they get they get all aggravated.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I sold this house for this amount of money. These guys are getting a great deal. Why can't they understand they're getting a great deal?
Apparently, all sellers sound like men.
I'm doing a seller impersonation. And I can't believe it. You know what? Just cancel the deal, Max. Cancel the deal.
Right. And what we have to do as agents is remain calm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know agents and I know people who receive the repair request from the buyer. And they get the agents get all up in arms. Oh my God! Oh, this is horrible. There's so many things. Probably you, don't. I don't know. But I say, calm down.
Right.
Remember, this is a transaction between the buyer and the seller.
Correct.
It's not between us. So we take the repair request. Say, here's the repair request from the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to respond? I don't ever say, oh my gosh, they sent us this horrible request. There's 23 things on it. I just say, here's the repair request.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to respond? Now, they normally call me and say, what do you advise?
Right.
And that's when we can get into a conversation. But I don't want to ever assume that the seller won't say, oh, sure, I'll just take care of all that stuff.
Okay.
Or let's give them $1,000 credit and see what they want to do. And it's all, dependent upon the market that we're in. If it's a seller's market, you won't see very many repair requests.
Yeah.
If it's a buyer's market where the buyers have a lot more to choose from, then that's when you're going to see a repair request that's probably over the top.
Gotcha.
But that is a pitfall because that can end the deal.
Yes.
Many people dislike inspectors because they think they're there to kill the deal.
So let me ask you this. Seller has a buyer. Buyer does a home inspection. 25 things are asked to get fixed. Seller says, no, I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. Now, on the next buyer that comes in, do you have to share with that buyer what the previous buyer's home inspector was? or did or said, or do you just start completely fresh again?
Well, you really should disclose anything that's a major defect that you didn't know about, that buyer's inspection showed up. You would have to redo what's called your seller's real property disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Nevada, it's called that. It's different things in different states. But you'd want to update that to show anything that was big on that previous buyer's inspection.
But if it was a cosmetic thing, a sealed window still works, but it just cosmetically doesn't look right.
Nope.
You don't have to worry about any of that. You don't have to disclose
Shouldn't
any
have
of
to,
that.
No. You can,
Okay.
and again, the next buyer, because the inspection that first buyer got,
Mhm.
it's kind of an opinion. It's kind of here's what I think, here's what I see.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the next buyer gets an inspection that's going to be the same. It'll be a different stuff. It'll be a different approach.
Right.
So we don't want to determine how the buyers are going to respond.
That makes sense.
Now, also, Jenny, you said when they send over a repair request with 25 items on them, and then the seller says, heck no, you made it sound like that automatically cancels the deal.
Oh, well, it doesn't automatically cancel the deal, but why don't you explain what you can do when 25 things get sent over to do a repair?
Yeah. Well, what you can do is tell the seller, which I advise this sometimes, and I know you like it too because we've talked about it. Hey, you got this outrageous repair request for a bunch of cosmetic stuff or things that aren't that big of a deal. And like you said, that you set the price based on what the house is, how it presents itself.
And the age of the house
so
and everything else.
Let's reject this repair request.
Yeah.
Would you like to do that? Sure. So we'd send over a rejection. And usually the buyer's agent and the buyer, I think I can envision their reaction. They're like, oh my gosh, what? They're rejecting it? So that's when they start talking about, maybe we went too hard. Maybe we asked for too much. Let's go back and
only take care of items 1 and 2.
When we send over that rejection or we send over a counter, we can do a counter offer to there. Say, we'll fix these 3 things, but not those 8 things.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times before the agent has even showed it to their buyer, I'll get calls. They'll say, hey, so your seller's not willing to do the other things? I mean, my buyer really wants to buy the house, but you think will they do the other thing? Or will they maybe give me some credit? I said, I don't know. We've sent you the counter offer on your repair request. Present that to your buyer and let us know what they think.
Right.
See, agents sometimes they get really confused about how they think they're in the transaction. They're representing. They're not in the transaction.
Yeah, I think that's the key to this podcast is you really do want to hire a real estate agent that is calm, good with communication, understands the purpose of what their job is, which is a lot of times education and giving options, educated options.
Sometimes calming. Sometimes it's psychiatrist. Sometimes
you're putting on the psychiatrist hat, referee. Especially if there's a divorce situation with a husband and a wife that are selling a property because they're divorcing. Yeah, so there's a lot of hats, and so I think it's really important that when you are doing a real estate transaction, this is a lot of money. I mean, in Vegas, Southern Nevada, you're not going to really pick up anything that's much less than $500,000.
Yeah, medium home prices in the mid 400s.
Yeah, so I really think that finding the right realtor is so important. And then what I've always said is develop that relationship with the realtor forever. And I've been in the business since 1993. My dad was in the business since 1978. We still have clients that call us up for advice, for their children to buy property, sometimes for the grandchild to buy a property. We have been around long enough to know
Your father requires a lead-based paint disclosure because he was 1978.
That's correct. I just really think that it's about relationships. And if you can find that right relationship right away on the first purchase, or the first sale, then that is going to make a big difference in the world of real estate.
For sure, but I think we need to talk about another pitfall.
What's another pitfall?
The appraisal.
Yeah, but you know what? Okay, so this is just my opinion again.
When you buy a house and it's financed, the lender requires there to be an appraisal on the property, and the appraised value cannot be lower than the sales price.
And there was a time where the appraisals were absolutely the hot button pitfalls. Oh my gosh, we just lost another deal. I don't see it as much now. And I also think that if somebody really, really wants that home and there's a lot of upgrades in the home, but the appraiser cannot value the upgrades for everything that it is because they have to depreciate the chandelier, depreciate quartz countertop, whatever. I still think a buyer will pay over appraisal if it's justifiable.
So Jenni runs a property management company and has been doing so for like 20 years.
Correct.
So she just doesn't know, does she, folks?
Yeah, I know
it still happens. It happens all the time.
I know it
Buyers
happens.
are not, first of all, every buyer's different, but we get offers on an FHA client, an FHA buyer who's only putting 3.5% down.
Yeah.
They don't have the extra money to come up above appraised value. So it's still a huge hurdle in the transaction. And if it does appraise for lower than the sales price, we can have the buyer pay the difference, have the seller reduce the price. We can negotiate a price in between those two, or we can cancel the deal.
Right.
So really, you want an agent who they understand, I'm going to negotiate 3 times. I'm going to negotiate for you when we're getting the contracts and we're going to accept a contract. I'm going to negotiate for you when you get a repair request and how you should respond to that. And I'm going to negotiate for you when we get a low value on an appraisal. And I'm going to help you make sure you maximize your return.
It sounds like you're a pretty darn good real estate agent there, Max.
Well,
you know your stuff. I love it. Well, those are a few topics that we wanted to go over, being that the real estate market is heating up. I think
I think it's going to be a pretty good year. A lot of people are saying this is a rebound year. We're 2026. They say it's going to be a rebound year for real estate. And, we have listings and we're seeing activity and so it's going well for us. And I think it's going well for most of the people out there.
So this is the year that if you are thinking about selling a property or buying a property and you're in the Southern Nevada area, let us know. We're happy to help. Max will be that. He will be that wise realtor to give you all that wonderful advice. And we also have a wonderful network of people that we've known and done business with in other states. So if you want to have us do an interview on an agent somewhere else, we're happy to do that for you. Let our years of experience help you. That's obviously at no charge. That's just us helping our fellow neighbor.
That's a great, kind words, Jenni. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm also the funniest realtor in Las Vegas. So if that's important to you to laugh and smile throughout the process, give us a call. But hey, if you want to buy an investment property, then you call Jenni. We sell it to you. Call Jenni and she manages it for you. It's wonderful. It's win-win, eh? It's
a one-stop shop event.
That's true.
All right.
We cover it all.
Take us out, Max.
Take us out to the ball game.
No,
take us out
I'm
to
about to go and lean over and press stop on our podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jenni McKenna, Max Zerflu here in Henderson, Nevada, basically Las Vegas. We just want to share with you our thoughts on real estate, life, and all things that are good. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, and send us your feedback. We really appreciate
here we
you.
go.
There you go, Jenni. Reach in there. Boom. Boom. Oh, there you go. Sound good? Okay, good. I'll pass over to Ireland. Here you go, kid.
Thanks, Pops.